Greetings, folks, and welcome to part 3 of the Sonic 2 Tails run, where this time around I'm moseying on through Mystic Cave Zone, which, as I mentioned in part 2, was referred to as Dust Hill Zone in the prototype, and was, well, for the longest time people thought Dust Hill Zone was the desert zone and that was intended for Sonic 2, but that was later confirmed to be called Sand Shower Zone. And there was a version that was reconstructed for Sonic CD's mobile remake by Christian Whitehead that never actually ended up getting completed. But that concept was reused for Sonic Mania for Mirage Saloon Zone, so that's pretty cool. So, I mean, Sand Shower Zone lives on in a way, I guess. But anyways, this is Dust Hill Zone, and this version that I'm playing, unlike in the mobile version that I was playing in the Sonic run of this playthrough, this does not have Hidden Palace Zone hidden in the game anywhere, as this is an emulated version of the Genesis game, so not gonna see that fancy bonus zone this time around, unfortunately. Which I still say it is a shame that they decided to scrap Hidden Palace, because there's a lot of cool stuff that was scrapped from Sonic 2 that... oh well, I guess. I mean, Sonic 2 is still a pretty cool game, and there's still a lot of pretty cool zones in the game. It's just that I feel like a lot of the stuff that was cut from the game would have been welcome additions for sure. Especially Hidden Palace and Wood Zone. But back to Mystic Cave Zone, and that will be the end of Act 1 of Mystic Cave Zone. And I don't get enough points there for any continues, but that's all fine and good. And just keep things moving along to Act 2. Act 2, it is possible to get tons of rings, but there is also a section either halfway through or toward the end of Act 2 that I refer to as the dummy pit, where if you're not careful you can fall into a pit of nothing but spikes and either die or run out of time and die. So it's just kind of a beginner's trap, I feel. But I managed to avoid that for the sake of the playthrough. And I'm sure a bunch of you out there hope I would avoid that for the sake of the playthrough. I feel like Mystic Cave Zone's a pretty cool zone, but it's where the enemy placement begins to kind of show its ugly teeth in the game. As Mystic Cave, Oil Ocean, and Metropolis Zone all have the worst enemy placement in Sonic 2 and begin to up the difficulty for Sonic 2 overall. I feel like Metropolis Zone is the pinnacle of Sonic 2's difficulty. Didn't used to feel that way, but after going back and playing it a few more times and doing this Tails run, I was like, ugh, I just want to get out of here. Oh hey, I got the nice number of rings again. Funny number. But, yeah, I no longer don't. But now I'm just kind of like trying to get out of here. I just want to get on to Act 2. Although I do make it a point to try to get as many rings as possible in case I can get an extra life. And yeah, that's going to be possible. I now have 23 lives, folks. Got 333,000 points. Well, a little bit over that. Just roll through here, get a few more rings. Definitely pick up that shield over there. Frame rate doesn't really seem to screw up the shield too much in this playthrough. I mean, it was definitely messing with the Chaos Emeralds a little bit more, but here we've got Eggman once again up to his old tricks. And once again, just hit him 8 times and no longer is a threat. Of course, look out for those spikes. And yeah, that's gonna do it. The big bad Dr. Eggman has been defeated once again for Mystic Cave Zone. The animal buddies have once again been rescued and will go on about their business. And Miles Tails per Hour got through Act 2. And since I got tons of rings, I get an extra life and a continue, so pretty cool stuff going on there. But what's not cool is I gotta deal with Oil Ocean Zone now, because I hate Oil Ocean Zone, folks. It is pretty much the one bleak spot in Sonic 2, in my opinion. I really don't like this zone, and it makes me kind of angered to know that this is what was put in place of the scrapped Hidden Palace Zone. Because this zone is long, obnoxious, and the enemy placement and spike placement just kind of does it in for me. But that's alright. I mean, I know some people like this zone. Plus, it gets brought back for Sonic Mania, so I mean, I guess there's some popular demand there, but I don't see it myself. I would have preferred Metropolis Zone being Sonic Mania. But at the same time, Metropolis Zone is in one of the Sonic 4 episodes, so except it's not called Metropolis Zone. I don't remember the name. Oh, wait. I think it was Mad Gear Zone, maybe? I don't know. I haven't played Sonic 4 in a long time, so I'd have to go back and double check that. But anyways, once again, you just got the Oil Ocean here. And yeah, I've never really been a fan of this zone, folks. A lot of that mostly comes down to the enemy placement, and just not really too big of a fan of the music here either. But I'm not gonna weigh down the playthrough too much with my obnoxious complaining this time around. As you got these green things that will launch you into the air, but you just gotta time your jumps sometimes. And I do believe I'm actually getting pretty close to the end of this first act. And hey, I actually managed to get an extra life on rings alone, which is pretty hard to do because the enemies are waiting at every corner to just kind of run into you. But no need to worry because I got the invincibility power up now. I got some rings, and as long as I have some rings, I should be okay. Not really worried about getting hit at this point. Bonk. And you got another series of those circular launch tube things. Not really sure what those are called. The Oil Ocean things. But anyways, just keep things chugging here. And holy crap, I actually thought I was closer to the end of Oil Ocean Zone Act 1 than I was. And the video glitched out a little bit, so that's cool. Anyways, that's the end of Oil Ocean Act 1. I just gotta drudge on through Oil Ocean Act 2. And right off the rip, things are looking pretty good. And oh yeah, I remember this part. This is the part where I kept thinking, oh man, am I gonna die here? Because you can sink into the oil and die. So I got hung up here for a couple of seconds, and that kind of made things look a little but yeah, you see I go back and I try it again. And I do it again. But no need to worry because eventually I get it right. Yeah, there it is. And now I can proceed with Act 2 of Oil Ocean Zone. Once again, you got those green spiky things, and I decided not to let it launch me into one of them tubes because I can just skip that part, and I feel like it would be a little less time consuming to just go through those green tubes. Got myself stuck there for a second. But yeah, this is pretty much where the game starts throwing everything it has at you. I feel like it kind of slows down for Sky Chase and Wing Fortress and so on, but for Oil Ocean Metropolis Zone, it's pretty much the game throwing everything it has at you, and it's pretty much like an athletic test at this point. The game testing you to see what your skill set is for Sonic 2. The more you play, the better you get, but that's the case with anything, really. The more you play through here, it just becomes a little bit easier. So I feel like plus, I feel like recording a version of this on a console this time around makes it a lot easier, because I don't have to deal with the touchpad of my touchscreen phone. And I feel like this playthrough and this commentary are probably a little bit aged already, just because this is not the Sonic Origins version. As I don't currently own the Sonic Origins version, because I currently have my sights set on buying a copy of Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn, which is a little bit more cooler to me than buying a poorly remade collection. As I've heard that Sonic Origins has a lot of glitchy points, and everybody complaining about the music being replaced with poorly remixed tracks, and that there are a lot of game-breaking glitches from time to time, but I'd rather just get Sonic Jam, which seems like a cooler collection of Sonic games. Plus, I already have the emulated versions, plus I own Sonic Mega Collection, plus I actually own cartridges of the original Sonic games. So I've got plenty of ways to play the original Sonic games if I really wanted to. But that's gonna do it for Oil Ocean Zone. Moved through here a little quicker than I was thinking I would've. But that's gonna take things right along to Metropolis Zone. This is another zone where I actually like the prototype version of the music just a little bit better, because it has more Genesis twang to it. And check that out, Metropolis Zone Beta. I actually include that song in my workout mix sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I'll just be at the gym and I'll be on the treadmill for an hour, because that's like my #1 box to check every time I go to the gym. I'm on the treadmill for at least an hour. I crank up the incline and just walk it out. Ooh, I do hear a little bit of Genesis twang in the final mix of Metropolis Zone, but I like it more in the prototype version myself. See, Genesis twang is basically what the sound quality of the Sega Genesis is referred to as it's got this really twangy kind of sound to it, which is more prominent in a lot of the American-made Sonic or Sega Genesis games. It's more so prominent, I feel like, in the Sonic Spinball. However, I feel like it is at its worst in Sonic Spinball because the options theme. It's Genesis twang at its absolute worst. But the Sega Genesis sound quality has this like cold metallic kind of sound to it. I personally enjoy it though. I feel like it gives the Sega Genesis a lot more character. And plus, there are plenty of good soundtracks and songs to come off the Sega Genesis hardware. Aw yeah, got another extra life though, folks, and I'm already up to 26 lives just like that. And Act 1 of Metropolis Zone is probably the easiest of the acts to get through, if I do say so myself, because it is littered with rings. And as long as you are at least a little bit meticulous about getting through here, you should be a-okay. But of course that doesn't stop the enemy placement from being quite a nuisance in Metropolis, as you got Asteron stars, those slicers there. I hate those slicers. And then the shellcracker enemies, which are the crab robots in this game. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get the heck out of here. It's gonna do it for Metropolis Act 1, folks. Once again, I'll get another continue out of it, which is always cool business. And I'm pretty close to 400,000 points, which is also cool business. Keep these cool runnings moving along here, and go on to Metropolis Zone Act 2. Even if I like the beta version of this theme a little bit better, I still really like Metropolis Zone's theme in Sonic 2. Even if I don't really care too much for the zone itself, the music makes up for it tenfold. As this is one I'm kind of trying to learn how to play on guitar. I want to get it right, and maybe one day I'll do a cover of it. But yeah, Metropolis Zone isn't the worst thing in the world. It's just you gotta look out for the enemies. You gotta know where everything is, and just kind of take it a little bit slower than you normally would. It's even worse when you're playing as Sonic, because Sonic moves faster, and when you play as Sonic in the Sonic game, you just wanna blaze through everything. When you play as Tails, it kind of slows things down a little bit more, because he's not the fastest thing alive, folks. He's Tails. But no need to worry, because this approach to playing as Tails kind of just makes it a little bit easier to get through some of the more difficult spots. That's why, spoiler alert, there's only 4 parts of the Tails run, as opposed to when I played Sonic 2 as Sonic and Tails, and it was a 5-parter. Took a little bit longer to get through. But at that point, when I recorded Sonic 2, I didn't have half of the equipment I currently have now. Crazy looking back on how things changed in the span of a year, as I now have a decent quality microphone, and I have a capture card and all the equipment I need to be able to record Let's Plays. And things are definitely looking a little bit brighter going forward, if I do say so myself. Except for when those stupid slicers are in the way. Meow, meow. Meow. But yeah, the Sega Genesis, I keep wanting to say Sega Saturn. I always have Sega Saturn on the brain, though, whenever I'm thinking Sega. I mean, the Saturn is my second favorite console of all time. But I'm gonna just go ahead and keep things going on with Act 2. Miles Tails Brower got through Act 2 of Metropolis Zone, and we'll go ahead and roll on to the final act of Metropolis Zone. Which just still baffles me that there are 3 acts in this one, as opposed to how almost every other zone is either 1 or 2 acts. But I get it, they had the assets for it, and they repurposed a scrapped zone Cyber City for it. And somehow I did not die because of the steam from those pistons. Which, yeah, if you get hit by the steam, it will kill you. But now I got a couple of rings, I'll just take the hit from the shell cracker and go through the tube. Ding. But yeah, this is a part you kind of want to look out for, because you can get smushed if you're not careful. But I guess you can say that about a lot of sections in Metropolis Zone. And unfortunately, that nut there is too high for me to jump back up on top of and go back. So I need to go back and backtrack and respawn it where it originally was. Might as well get that last ring while I'm at it. And yes, it is respawned where it needs to be. And sometimes that does happen. Sometimes you'll need to do some backtracking and respawn things. But no worries, folks. Ooh. Of course, I managed to get hit by bad enemy placement. But that's just something you gotta deal with in Sonic 2 sometimes. I'm almost at the end of the 3rd act of Metropolis anyway, so it's nothing to worry about too much. However, I will say the most difficult thing to deal with in Metropolis Zone is the Eggman battle, as it is the last battle you have to deal with Eggman. Well, technically, although I don't know. I mean, the Wing Fortress battle is kind of a showdown with Eggman, but he's not in one of his mechs. He's not in one of his robots. But he is for Metropolis Zone, and he is for Death Egg Zone, which is the final zone in the game. Spoilers. And you just kind of gotta look out for these platforms. Here's the arrows. Will just kind of shoot at you if you're not careful. But no need to worry. I managed to meticulously get my way through it. And I gotta be getting pretty close to that boss battle with Eggman. And Metropolis Zone isn't necessarily a brutally long zone to get through. It's just more so dodging the enemies and just dealing with the boss. I now currently have 27 lives, which is pretty good. I haven't died yet at this point of recording. Now, I will say this is not a perfect playthrough, as there were 2 deaths, but I will get to that later on. But that is not the case for this third part, I will say that. Actually getting pretty close to the end of this third part. I know I've said it a couple times, gotta be getting close to that Eggman battle. But now this is it, folks. That checkpoint back there in this platform here will take me to it. And the reason I'm just kind of talking about this Eggman battle and it's on the brain is because this is actually the most difficult boss battle in the game, in my opinion. As it's really easy to get hit and get yeeted plenty of times over and over again. So I just take the hits sometimes, and I just jump whenever I can. I do believe you gotta hit them 8 times to get all them capsules of bubble Eggmans, mini Eggmans out of the way. But once you get all those out of the way, you just gotta hit them one more time, and looks like I will manage to do that. Yeah, there it is. And that's going to do it for Metropolis Zone, folks, and that's actually going to do it for Part 3 of this Tales run of Sonic 2. And I hope you'll all tune in for the grand finale, as I'll go ahead and stop Eggman once and for all in that part. Anyways, I will see you in that part.